the words of Chief Seattle, the earth does not belong to us, we belong to the earth. Today, we have amongst us an eminent speaker who will give us a talk on the topic sustainable environment and environment quality. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested because it is very important for us to improve the environmental quality and healthy life for our society. Our speaker, Mr. Sanju Soman sir, is a social entrepreneur and sustainability expert with a postgraduate in climate change and sustainability studies. He is currently the Senior Program Officer at Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment. He is also working as a researcher student in the World Institute of Sustainable Energy. He is the co-founder of Bhava, a social enterprise which focuses on creating alternatives for daily use plastic and wood-based products. He is also the director for Suchitra Foundation, which works in climate change action and awareness. On behalf of Mar Gregorius College of Law family, I invite you to this session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Janaki. To start with, am I audible? Is it clear for everyone, Janaki?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. So, good evening, one and all. Hope you're all doing having a good day. And I know it had been a long day, I guess, because my friend Sridhar had mentioned you had the whole day you had sessions, I hope. Anyhow, so today I'll try to make it as interesting as possible, the whole session in a story mode, so that you get to understand about sustainability as well, learn from how my life have turned out starting from Toronto. So a few years back, I too started my career from Toronto. I did my grads in SN College, Amberley, which is in Toronto again. Similar to all of you, I also had various aspirations and things to do, and I started off with the graduation psychology, but I was not really sure if I wanted to pursue psychology as a career option, but then psychology sounded interesting, and after +2, being a confused kid, I thought let's go and give it a try. So that's how Ria. Ria, you have a question, or is it?
Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. It's a technical.
Okay. So yes, and my career started thus. Was quite confused initially in the initial days, but trust me, Trivandrum is an amazing place to grow, and it will take you through a whole evolution altogether. So towards the second or third year of the college, I realized that psychology is not my area, even though it's a very interesting subject, and even though you get to learn a lot about human mind and how it works, etc. It didn't sound a bell, and I didn't want to continue this as a career. But of course, I keep reading about it. Later on, I got the opportunity to start Save a Rupee Spread a Smile Society. It's a small NGO, which turned out to be one of the biggest youth-run NGOs in Trivandrum then, around 10 years back. And we had organized various number of events. So all of this happened during my graduation days. It was really quite an evolution. And later on, during my final years, I got to be part of a conference which discussed about climate change and sustainability. And during the conference, one of the scientists over there from the VHS Center for Climate Science came and asked, do you know how much emissions is caused from burning 1 liter of petrol or diesel? So we were all like confused. A lot of us didn't know. I mean, a lot of us never thought about that. I don't know if you have thought about it. And then audience gave various answers, and fortunately, one person gave the near to right answer, and it was around 1 to 1.5 kilograms per liter of petrol or diesel. That is, if we travel in your own bike or car or take a bus or so, if you're burning 1 liter of petrol or diesel to make that mobility or movement, it burns around 1 to 1.5 kilograms of carbon dioxide per liter of fossil fuel or that petrol or diesel. Now, we always talk about mileage. In regard to scooter, we know you get around 35 to 40 kilometers per liter. We know the rate of per liter. It has been skyrocketing from like 70 to now around 90 rupees per liter. That also we discuss. But we never discuss about how much emissions is caused when 1 liter of petrol or diesel is burned. This sort of made me think. And helped me realize how serious this issue was. Thankfully, later on in Trivandrum itself, got to intern with a couple of organizations like Tunnel and some other environmental NGOs, and then thankfully got into Tata Institute of Social Sciences to do my master's there in climate change and sustainability. Over the next 2 years, things again have changed a lot. This is a really amazing institute to learn and all. But all of that, the base and evolution started in Trivandrum. That's why again Trivandrum is an amazing place to be. From there, I got to be part of several amazing organizations, work with UNICEF, UNEP, etc. But most importantly, I got to work with Ladakh Ecological Development Group. So why I'm telling all of this is because I am trying to convey sustainability through a story, and also, if possible, inspire you how a career journey can also make differences and help you learn. So, during for second year of college, that's when earthquake hit Nepal, and me and my friend Kavin decided to cycle and raise funds. So we cycled from Mumbai to Bangalore, and we raised some funds for this disaster. And later on, decided I wanted to do an internship, so I chose Ladakh because it's a very eco-pristine region and a dream for a lot of people too. So thankfully, got into work with Ladakh Ecological Development Group. But as soon as I landed Leh, I sort of realized that people out there live with less than 10 liters of water per week, right? In regard to their basic toilet uses, cleaning of utensils, etc. Because I stayed at a friend's place. She's from a middle class family in Ladakh. Even she only used less than 10 to 15 liters of water per week, because literally they don't have water. And for all the toilet uses, they use dry toilets. They wash their clothes once in probably a month or so. We might find it funny because but because we end up spending almost 60 to 100 liters of water per day on an average, right? One flush is 10 to 15 liters, right? One shower is 20 to 30 liters, right? And when we wash plates and so on, also lots of water is wasted. And the project I worked there is something on passive solar housing. It's a very interesting project because in rural regions of Ladakh, Ladakh, as you know, is a very cold region, right? And the temperatures can go up to minus 20 degrees. They don't have houses like we do have. We have 1,000 or 2,000 square feet houses, which is made of concrete or 1 or 2 floors, etc. They have houses which are simple, which is less than 200 or sometimes less than 100 square feet. And the kitchen, the dining, the bedroom, everything is one single room. And do you know why? That's because they can't afford to heat the whole house. Like we might be able to cool the house with fan or air conditioner. They can't afford to heat the whole house. So what they do is, in probably 100 or 200 square feet square building, they have one chula in the center, and the chula keeps on running 24 hours, which emits heat and keeps the place warm. They sleep there, they sit there, have their food there on the ground. They use the same space to take rest or study or watch TV, etc. And the same time, they also cook on the chula, because that's the best thing that they can do. That's the only thing that they can do. And on an average per year, they used to burn, on an average, a family used to burn around 12 tons or 12,000 kilograms of fossil fuel or veragu for keeping their house warm and for cooking purposes. And they keep on drinking hot tea also all the time. Since the chula is on all the time, they keep on sipping tea also, which keeps their body warm. So the project I was working is that because of the fact that they have to use 12 tons of fossil fuel or fuel wood every year, a lot of the time the women spend in a day is to collect wood from nearby places. So they travel to within 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer radius. They pick up whatever is available, or they cut small branches and bring it back to burn it. So the project I worked is to help them reduce the amount of fuel they will have to use. So the project was basically something called passive solar housing. It's a very, see, I didn't do my engineering studies, but it's a very simple concept to understand. Instead of the four walls, in which one wall is always glass so that light enters, because a lot of these houses doesn't have electricity, so they keep one glass, you know one wall as glass, make it with glass. So the concept was to do a double pane glass. Two glasses were kept together, which reduced the amount, or which increased the amount of heat that retains inside the room, right? And also helps more sunlight enter the room, which means the place remained quite warmer compared to the usual situation. And this would then reduce the amount of for fuel burned to around 6 tons, that is half. So what all happens here? One, the emissions from burning that extra 6 tons is reduced. Secondly, most important element, that women got more extra time to engage in other livelihood activities. They could make something, or they could go for farming, etc. They got that extra time to do, because they only had to collect 6 tons per year. So this was the experience there. Later on, after college, decided to work in Kerala, because, as I mentioned, we already created quite a lot of social capital. That is a lot of volunteers who worked with me and people who worked with me decided to come back to Kerala and started work at A3. So currently, I'm not working with A3. I guess there was a mistake when she mentioned about that. A3 is an organization which is working on conservation of Eastern Himalayas and Western Ghats. So as you know, Western Ghats and Eastern Himalayas in India are among the most eco-diverse area or ecological hotspots that we have in our country. The long Western Ghats, which passes through almost 5 to 6 states, is certainly, highly dense in terms of the ecosystem population that we have. The diversity of flora and fauna that we have are very intense. And it's because of the Western Ghats that we are able to live happily. Many a time we don't really consider that or think about it. Without the Western Ghats, we wouldn't have the rains that Kerala is getting. Even now it's raining, I guess. In most of your houses, it should have rained today also. So this has certainly, the same way, each and every species that we have in our ecosystem has some role to play. I'll be talking that towards the end. Now, one of the aspects has been that what A3 has been working. Sorry. Okay. One of the aspects A3 has been working on is its wetland conservation program in Aleppo, right? In Aleppo, it has been extensively working on Vembanad wetland conservation, and that's where I joined for the Vembanad wetland conservation project. So why Vembanad? Vembanad, as you know, a lot of you might be knowing it as Alappuzha Kayal and Vembanad Kayal, right? It is the longest lake in India. It's the longest natural lake in India. It's the largest Ramsar site. It's a protected region by the UN. As well, it provides livelihood to almost 1.5 million people. So why I'm talking about this? Unless we understand about our own home really well, there is no point in understanding the global scenario. So Vembanad Lake plays a major role also in the whole ecology of Kerala and the cycle of Kerala, right? In fact, uh, one of the major reasons that why we had extensive floods in 2018 and 19 was also because we നമ്മൾ പറയാറുണ്ട് ബക്കറ്റിന്റെ സൈസ് കുറഞ്ഞു. That is Vembanad Kyle, the size of the lake has come down because of reclamation and various other activities. What happens when the size of the bucket comes down? If you pour more water, it overflows. The same way, we also had the floods as the size of the Vembanad lake came down, and a lot of water came gushing due to the rains. And apart from that, we also know that most our houses, namada muttam, is tiled, right? What does it do? It increases the runoff. As soon as it rains, instead of water percolating down, it washes away. This would again increase the speed of the water running towards the ocean, right? Because it doesn't have, see, water always wants to escape to a lower region, right? And if water is um, uh, when all of it comes together, and it doesn't have space to go beneath the soil, it runs towards the ocean, and this has created the flood. So that's why we have Vembanad ecosystem is a very important ecosystem. And that's when we worked on a couple of projects which might also talk to you more about the environment in detail. People in Vembanad are directly dependent on fish, that is catching fish from the lake, or in Aleppo, also from the coastal regions, as well clam, kakka, black clam. They also collect clam, which the clam shell is used for calcium carbonate or white cement, and the meat is being consumed because it is one of the most important sources of protein for the people there. Now, because of the various factors, especially the industries in Ernakulam and increase in plastic contamination, etc., the lake has seen a drastic reduction in the availability of fishes. Now, this what happens is that chemical pollution increases the decreases the oxygen availability in the lake, which then makes it difficult for the fishes to breed, because of which the number of fishes come down, because of which fishing community wouldn't be able to catch enough fishes to sustain their livelihoods. So the same thing with clam. The second thing that happens is we all use a lot of plastic, right? We extensively dependent on plastic from day in, day out. We are dependent on plastic. Now, a lot of the plastic that we use end up in oceans and water bodies. Almost 20 to 25% of it ends up in oceans and water bodies. What happens when they reach oceans and water bodies? They disintegrate, disintegrate into small pieces. And we have learned in school, right? Phytoplanktons grow on these microplastics, and they are being consumed by fishes. And that's the fish that we consume, right? So a lot of plastic goes into our tummy also. Now, this all of these factors has led to reduction in fish and clam availability in the lake system. Apart from that, we have also been working with the fishing communities out there in conservation of the Vembanad Lake. So that's also when we started a project of upcycling. She mentioned about Bhava Social Venture. It's a small social enterprise, which I along with few friends started, which focuses on upcycling pre-owned fabric. That is, namada pare sari, bedsheet, mund, shirt, etc. is been converted into beautiful products, especially bags, which can be then reduce the impact on the planet, because a lot of the clothes that we use currently, right, are also made of nylon or polyester. Now what is nylon or polyester? When we go to the shops, we end up finding fabric which is made of nylon or polyester, or a mix, right? It's written on the shirt back, or on the material, it's written 50% polyester, 50% cotton, etc. What is nylon or polyester? It's a polymer, it's a plastic. So this is also impacting the planet a lot. So we started an upcycling effort also to support livelihoods of a lot of people. And currently work with, full-time working with World Institute of Sustainable Energy. We are working on identifying and understanding climate governance in the state of Kerala. See, this is a very important thing that you also can learn, because all of you are into law. We looking into what are the policies and schemes the government is coming up with to help Kerala become sustainable, and also help people adapt to future uncertainties, also reduce the future uncertainties, and so on. It's a very interesting project. Probably next time or so, when I have more time, I could explain more about it. Anyhow, going ahead, I think someone is unmuted. There is some disturbance coming. Jitesh, yeah, all right. Okay, so the point of taking you through the series is also that, see, um, all of you are in your initial days of college, and this long way to go for sure. But it's good to read a lot, work with really interesting groups, especially in Trivandrum. There, you're lucky to be Trivandrum, and your college is also doing a great job by inviting a lot of variety. Inviting a lot of such initiatives, doing such a lot of initiatives. So make maximum use of it. Explore the country a lot, and also start your own things and stuff like that. That's how you learn eventually. Anyhow, going ahead, we're coming to the topic in detail. I hope you have understood certain aspects here and there through the journey that I took you through in the last 20 minutes. Now we'll go through a detailed presentation on more about climate change. We'll also try and see if you can calculate your own carbon footprint and so on. So now to talk about environment and sustainability and climate change, etc. It is the place that you live. Your environment is not just your home. It's the whole ecosystem. It's the whole planet, because we are all connected each other some or the other way. And most importantly, more than the connection between us, it is a connection with the nature that helps us survive here, right? Take any factor. Take any factor around you. Let's say that one whole year you haven't got rains. Okay, and it could be because of a various aspects or factors. What would happen? You wouldn't have enough water to drink, you wouldn't have enough water to bathe, you wouldn't have enough water to do your daily stuff, right? So you're very connected to nature. The same way we do also see about the COVID crisis, right? I mean, it's really a bad situation for all of us. The whole country is mourning, and a lot of people are going through really tough time. Thankfully, a lot of us are quite safe also, and let's all stay home and stay safe. But here again, it also showed that one of the factors that they talk about the COVID crisis has been the manipulation of the ecosystem. Because of the manipulation of the ecosystem, it has been expected that such viruses could be formed, and it could impact human beings at an unprecedented scale too. So again, that is connected to ecology and environment. The same way, imagine about a food, 3 to 4 times a day we have food. Dosha, idli, appam, chicken rice, or again chapati, or snacks and parambari, whatnot, right? Chai. All of the sources of food that you come is directly depend on the environment that it is being grown, right? Now, over exploitation can make things worse. India being a country with very high population, and which is expected to reach that number one in terms of population by 2027. The pressure is increasing because we have very less land area. The population density is quite high. We will have to feed a lot of people, right? And the resources available are very less. In this situation, this is the situation that we have, and now the problem is that of the climate crisis, the which is the most important crisis that we have right now after COVID-19. But climate crisis is thought to be more discussed to be even more bigger than the COVID crisis, because we don't know when it is going to come. We don't know when a disaster is going to strike. We don't know what preparedness we have to. We don't know how it's going to impact the food, the agriculture, the economy, anything, right? So being prepared is the most important thing. So going ahead, I'll just take you through a presentation, and just to see. Um, okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, thanks. So we are at 2021, and we got only 9 years left to reverse climate change. What does it mean? Let's go to the pre-industrial levels, that is the 1940s or 1900s. From the 1900s onwards, we have advanced at a very fast pace, right? Can you imagine of us talking over internet connection through a laptop 20 years or 30 years back? No, right? Within the last 50 to 100 years, we have rapidly, uh, you know, developed a lot. And this process was facilitated by a lot of available energy, the technologies that helped us extract metals, the technology that especially helped us extract plastic, because almost every product that we use, every other product that we use comes with an element of plastic or has at least been packed in plastic, right? So it has again revolutionized our life. But over the past few years, this has again led to a major havoc too. So that's why climate scientists say that, according to Interagency Panel on Climate Change, it's IPCC, they say that in the last, from pre-industrial levels, we have increased the global average temperature by 1.2 degrees Celsius. So the average temperature across the globe has risen by 1.2 degrees Celsius. Now, what could it mean? It could mean that some places could be really hotter, some places could have variation in rainfall. See, it's a very simple science. You know that uh, how does rain happen? Water evaporates and then that condenses and then rain falls, etc., etc. Right? What happens when the temperature increases? More water evaporates, and then we don't know how the rain falls. Right? This is a major reason for the cloud bursts that are happening, the over flooding. One of the reasons is also this. So, because of which scientists say that if within the next 9 years we are not able to bring this rising temperature to a stable level, we might not be able to reverse it, right? So by this time, that is within the last 60 years, the global average temperature has risen by 1.2 degrees Celsius. Okay, now next within the next 10 or 15 years, it is expected that we'll reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. Then things could be catastrophic, because of which we only have 9 years left. Now, I'll go into the aspect of how climate change is happening and all of that. But at this point, what I have to reiterate is that we only have around 9 years left to actually do something. Hmm? And this is a time when all of us are going to be alive also, right? You and me and all of us. And it's becoming more and more important that all of us take action right now. It's not making action tomorrow or day after. Right now, can we bring change to our lifestyle? Right now, can I think of doing something differently? Right now, can I join or work with organizations or help my college become more sustainable and whatnot? So let's see what is exactly the problem. The problem here is that the main two problems that we have in terms of climate change and environment sustainability is that of carbon dioxide emissions and plastics. So we know that there are sort of greenhouse gases, right? That we have learned in school, which is making the planet more warmer. In school, that we have learned, whatever sunlight that comes to the earth, it is supposed to go back, reflect back out of the Earth's atmosphere. But now what's happening is, when there is high amount of carbon dioxide particles, that is the small black particles, it holds the heat in the atmosphere. Whatever heat that comes from the sun, some part of it stays in the atmosphere, some part goes back. Now, because of which the planet has been getting hotter. And this is to the scale of per person on an average. We produce CO2 emissions the size of 3 elephants. That is, we have mentioned about the emissions from 1 liter of petrol or diesel before, right? Which is around 1.5 kilograms per liter. Now imagine, per person, you and me and everyone over here on an average emits carbon dioxide to the scale of 3 elephants, or equivalent to around 9 tons of carbon dioxide. 3 elephants added would be around 8 to 9 tons of weight. The same way, plastic, on an average, we people eating fish consumes a credit card size worth of plastic every week, and this is primarily because of the number of microplastic contamination in the lake system. So both of these are main issues, and the bigger problem is certainly the carbon dioxide emissions. which is causing the changes in climate. Now, what is the impact of climate change? Due to increase in temperature, there is a large scale biodiversity loss. How biodiversity loss? So, very simple example can be that 10 years back, or let's say 5 years back, a lot of us didn't feel really hot sitting inside the house, right? But now in the summers, especially March, April, you might have felt quite hotter than the previous months. You might have asked your parents to get a better fan or an air conditioner or so too. So we are able to adapt really fast, right? Chudu Udumbatekne, we can tell, Acha, get an AC, this is too much, I can't handle this. Or, Acha, let's get 2 fans, this is too much, too hot it is, right? But can the other species in the ecosystem adapt to such a temperature rise? No. A lot of the other species, which includes small insects to bigger mammals, they might not be able to adapt to the fast rising temperatures, because of which a large number of species are dying at a very fast rate. The second thing is health impact. Uh, one of the biggest health impact is um, certainly the increasing atmospheric carbon dioxide levels in parts per million, which or the particulate matter of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is impacting our health a lot, right? People in Delhi, especially, are one of the reasons which is articulated is also that people in Delhi are suffering a lot, also because there is not a lot of fresh air that they can breathe. A lot of the air that's already there in the atmosphere is highly contaminated. The parts, on an average, the parts per million calculation for CO2 is around, as of now, the average is around 415 parts per million. In regions like heavily industrialized regions in Delhi, etc., it's around 900 plus parts per million, almost double. So there is an health impact. The same way, increasing temperatures would again have a health impact also, right? And impact on food. As the temperature rise, we humans again are able to adapt, get an AC, move from place to place, or do something to reduce the impact of the temperatures or floods or etc. But can plants do that? No, they can't adapt at a very fast rate. See, animals and plants can adapt, right? Like us, they can also adapt to change in temperature, but they can't adapt at a very fast rate. They will take hundreds or 50 or 100 or 200 years to adapt from one temperature to other temperature. They can only do it at a very slow rate, because of which increasing temperatures are making it hard to produce food. A lot of the major crops are being impacted by either variation in temperature, drastic variation in temperature, droughts caused due to less rain, less groundwater availability, since, as I mentioned again, a lot of us put tiles in front of our homes to make it look even better. There is no water percolation, which is then leading to less groundwater availability, which is again affecting the food production, right? Same way, variation in rainfall is causing a lot of problems. The future generation is the most impacted too. If within the next 9 years we are not able to do anything really impactful, then things could be reversible, irreversible, and it could lead to widespread, uh, widespread loss. The fourth thing is disasters, frequent disasters. Over the last 10 years, the frequency of the disasters has increased. In the past, let's say 10 years back, if there were only 1 or 2 reports of extreme disasters happening in a place, now it has gone up to 5 or 6 these extreme events happening in a place. So the number of disasters happening also increased. Livelihood loss. Now, because of all of this, because of the increase in carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere, because of the various other aspects of environment sustainability, which is impacted by human beings, there is large-scale livelihood loss also. A lot of people have to migrate. A lot of people are being forced to migrate to other regions where, for example, in drought-affected regions, people move to other places where are less drought. From flood-affected regions, people move to another place where there are, no floods, and a lot of people also move to cities, increasing the population density in cities, increasing the demand for resources in the cities. So again, that is leading to livelihood loss too. So this is a multi problem which has multiple factors to it. At the same time, the impact is also multiple. Like I said, the climate change is caused due to multiple factors. Uh, Now, I only mentioned about human impact in terms of emissions, but I'll also go into another aspect of how. Um, yeah, I'll go next. There. Right. Now, let's see within the next 100 years, or sorry, 80 years, that is by 2100, if we go business as usual. What does business as usual means? Business as usual എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഞാൻ ഇപ്പൊ എങ്ങനെയാണോ അതേപോലെ ജീവിക്കും, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് മാറ്റങ്ങളൊന്നും വരുത്താതെ I am going to live my life as it is, business as usual. If we all think that we'll do business as usual, who is going to care about climate change and all, and we're just going to survive as it is? WWF, World Wildlife Fund, predicts that almost 2.7 billion people, almost 1 by 4th of the population, will be affected by heat waves. 18% of the insects, 16% of plants, 8% of vertebrates could be affected drastically. They could be vanished. 410 million urban residents could be exposed to severe drought, especially cities, is what they mentioned. 170% increase in the number of floods. Because of increased temperature, there is more evaporation, and of course, there is more floods. And also, it is connected to ice-free summers in the Arctic every 10 years. We might not have Arctic or Antarctic white ice sheets, which could again increase temperature, which could again increase the amount of flood. And this increase in temperature, which melts the ice in the Arctic and Antarctic, would then increase the amount of water in the sea, which will then lead to sea level rise. Either the coastal regions is going to be the most impacted, because Arctic and Antarctic is melting at a very fast rate. And most importantly, നമ്മുടെ സ്കൂളിൽ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, whenever you heat water, it expands, right? When you make tea, or when you make boiled water, you can see it expanding, right? And this is the same thing that's happened when the temperature is rising. Apart from the fact that there is water which is rising because of the ice melting, there is also the expansion of water because of increasing temperature. Now we'll also lose a lot of coral reefs. Pavidaputtu or coral reefs also are at a very fast decline. Now, why coral reefs? Coral reefs, see, we all propagate or copulate at a very closed room or a house, right? The same way, fishes do need their own spaces to, to stay safe. They need their space to reproduce, and they use coral reefs to do the same. They protect from predators by being in the coral reefs. They take care of their young ones in the coral reefs. They reproduce in the coral reefs. Not just fishes, a lot of other marine species. And because of climate change and increase in chemicals in the water, which is leading to larger acidification, it is then sort of increasing, vanishing the coral reefs, which means eventually we'll have less fishes. So at this point, I'll just break and take 2 or 3 questions. You can message. Don't. You can message if you want to ask any particular or specific questions associated to what I have said. Uh, okay, I'm not able to see messages, I guess. Okay, then in that case, we'll take the messages to the end. I think by the time the coordinator or organizer will figure out a way how we can message a chat. All right, going ahead, I guess I have
Yes,
15 to 20 minutes left, right? Okay, so going ahead, where does the emissions come from? 28% of it comes from transportation. This see, this figure is a bit old. This has changed over time, but globally, 28% of it comes from transportation. That is the vehicles that we use personally, the flights that we take. Not just that. If you want to buy a curry powder, which is manufactured in Tamil Nadu, let's say the manjal podi that you buy comes from Tamil Nadu, it has to travel in a truck towards you, right? Or it could be that the scooter that you are using would have traveled from Telangana towards Kerala and then you bought it, right? There is a lot of transportation involved in all of it, and raw materials also. See, it's very interesting to understand life cycle analysis of products. If you take an example of your own laptop or mobile, imagine of how many elements or metals this your laptop has. Probably in making a laptop or mobile, the parts would have come to China or India or some other country from 10 other countries, the various metals or uh, items required for it. It would have been assembled in 10 different units. It would have then come to 5 different units to again get reassembled. And then final assembly happens in one unit. Then it goes to 50 different countries. So there is so much of transportation involved, right? So during the transportation, there is so much of fossil fuel based emissions that happens, of which a major chunk is certainly carbon dioxide. 82% of the whole emissions is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is causing the greenhouse global warming. 9% of it is methane, 6% of it is nitrous oxide, 3% of it is fluorinated gases. See, fluorinated gases is very simple. It's basically, you might have observed that in air conditioners and fridge, you can see a big tank, right? A small gas cylinder type tank. It has something called CFC or HFC, which keeps your fridge cool or helps in keeping your house cool. Now, as such, when it's inside the tank, it's not a problem. But let's say 5 or 10 years or 15 years, you use a refrigerator and then you throw it away, right? It's going to cause a lot of problem. This gas is very, very highly, um, uh, uh, okay, basically it's a greenhouse gas potential of fluorinated gas is quite high. That is, one molecule of this CFC is almost equivalent to 2000 molecules of carbon dioxide emission, right? The same way, methane is around 84 times more powerful than carbon dioxide in terms of greenhouse gas potential. 10% comes from agriculture. Now, where does the emissions come from in regard to agriculture? You might wonder. Of course, when you rear food, there is some sort of emission. It's not just the emissions caused while you are creating it. So what happens is, uh, when you grow something, there is so much of biomass that grows with it, right? When you grow rice, there is the stalk, there is the flour, everything is there, right? All of this cuts down as biomass, and that causes a lot of emissions. The same way, when you consume milk, you have to rear a lot of cows, and the cows do ruminate, which causes a lot of methane. The cow dung emits a lot of methane. Same way, when you have red meat, especially red meat, there is a drastic amount of emissions. Same way, even in the production of various kinds of food, and sometimes we end up having kiwis and exotic fruits that come from other parts of the country. That is also on from other countries altogether. That is also causing a lot of emission. Now, 20% of it comes from industries. So the laptop you're using, the mobile you're using, the table that you're using, the chair, everything is being done in an industry, which causes yet another set of emissions. Then there is 10% commercial and residential emission, and which is all the buildings, the air conditioner, the fan, etc. that we are using. Then the electricity. Electricity forms a major chunk of the emission because a lot of fossil fuel is being burned to generate electricity. Without electricity, we can't really think of living, right? Because you need everything, electricity for literally everything. But at the same time, it comes at a cost. It is certainly degrading our environment. Now, going ahead, uh, so a basic calculation of carbon footprint. Maybe you can screenshot it because I don't have the time to help you understand the carbon footprint. Basically, carbon footprint is the amount of carbon dioxide a single person emits in his or her annually. Okay. So, for example, if you had gone 100 kilometers in a car, that would have emitted 10 kilograms. if you have traveled 1,000 kilometers by flight, that is, you have taken a flight from Kochi to Bangalore, that is 1,000 kilometers, that would be 1,333 kilograms. If you have used 1 unit of current or 1 kilowatt hour of current, it is 1 kilogram of CO2 emission. All right. So basically, just to give you an example, നിങ്ങളുടെ കേരള സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഇലക്ട്രിസിറ്റി ബോർഡിന്റെ ബില്ല് എടുത്ത് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ they would mention previous unit and current unit. Previous unit is the previous month ka unit, and current reading is the current reading. You subtract both of them and you will get a number. Mostly the number would be between 150 and 300. It could vary from house to house. Now, this is the number of units your house consumes per month. Okay. Now, if you consume 200 units, which means per month you consume 200 or you produce 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Because to produce 200 units in India, it differs from country to country. For example, in some of the European countries which are quite advanced in terms of renewable energy, per unit emission is only 500 grams. Okay, but in India it's quite high. You get to know how much emissions you cause from just using electricity. You can then multiply that into 12 months. You get the annual emission from electricity. So this also you can screenshot it if you want. You can measure your carbon footprint by multiplying the number of kilometers you travel per month in a car or scooter, because you already know that how much emission is caused per kilogram, per liter of petrol or diesel, plus the number of flights you take, plus the number of units of electricity. And then there is something called general emissions. General emissions are basically the gas you use, the bus you take, the products that you buy, which has obviously had some indirect emissions when they produced it, and so on, which is a general emission, which is almost 3,000 to 4,000 kilograms per person on an average. Yeah, this would give you a number between 7,000 to 11,000 kilograms. See, this was a calculation done for a corporate company, basically, employees in a corporate company, which could be quite high. Being students, yours might be quite lesser. Now, if you compare your emissions with other countries, all right, Indian average emission is only 1.8 tons, because, as you know, a lot of people even now doesn't have electricity, right? A lot of people doesn't have vehicles. Only a very small fraction of the country's population are having vehicles. World average is 5 tons. Now, you might tell world average is 5 tons, then why is the acceptability 2 tons? We'll discuss that. Developed nations, it's around 11 tons. This is the average. And your emissions is 11.8 tons. Again, this is for a corporate person that we had calculated some few months back. Yours might be around 6 to 8 tons maximum. It won't go beyond that. See, if you want, you can screenshot this once more, just in case you missed it. Due to the limitation of time, I'm not, or else usually we have an exercise to do your own carbon footprint calculation. See, even or else you just go to Google, type carbon footprint, and then there will be a lot of calculating applications, and you can do your own calculation. You don't have to worry. So now let's say if your emission is around 6 to 8 tons, the acceptable is only 2 tons. Why? Because only if we bring down the emissions to around 2 tons can we limit global warming, which is happening at a very fast rate. So bringing down to 2 tons is quite not that easy. It's the world average that we have to bring down to 2 tons. The best thing that we can do is bring down to at least 5 tons. Now, how can you do that? You can reduce your electricity consumption. You can reduce your number of, you can use more public transportation and things like that. You can find ways to reduce emissions through Googling it out. I'm not talking much about it. Okay, going ahead, just to give you a comparison of the world data on how various countries do in terms of per capita, per person emission. The per person emission in India is only 2 tons. That is the average. That is not our emission. Yours and mine should be around, again, 6 to 8 tons. But in Brazil, it's quite a bit higher. UK is around 5. It's also because they have a lot of renewable energy. China is around 7, Russia is around 10, US, United States is around 15, and UAE is around 21 tons. A lot of our friends or family, brothers, etc., would be UAE. There, they use a lot of heating and cooling devices, and the vehicles there are consume a lot of, produce a lot of carbon dioxide. Now, going ahead, this is also something that you can get. So, from food, how much emissions is cost. 10 kg of red meat is equal to 600 kilograms of CO2. 20 liters of milk is equal to 60 kilograms. 10 kg of chicken is equal to 60 kilograms of CO2. 20 kg of rice is equal to 80 kilograms of CO2. See, rice is also extensively emitting carbon dioxide because it emits a lot of methane from the paddy fields. It doesn't mean that we can stop rice, because Kerala people are literally dependent on rice for everything, right? Then peanuts and so on. Uh, so again, as I mentioned, 11,800 kilograms, or let's say even 7 to 8,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year is quite a lot. It doesn't, it wouldn't help us bring, ensure that the world is a safe place to live. Now, ideal is to, bring it down to 5,000. Now, going ahead, I would also want to mention about sequestration. Right now, we have learned that a lot of the process that we are involved in, including the current laptop that I'm using, the fan and the light I'm sitting under, is causing some impact on the planet. The same way, uh, this is regarding emissions. Now, there is something that we also learned in school, that is, trees can absorb carbon dioxide, right? So there is some amount of emission, and there is some amount of sequestration, right? Now, uh, what does trees do? They take in carbon dioxide. But how much can a tree absorb? A tree, on an average, adult tree can only absorb around 40 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year. All right, only 40 kilograms per year. So imagine if your emission is around 8,000, how many trees will you have to plant? Around 200 trees per person is required to sequester. Now, are trees the only thing that sequester carbon dioxide? Sequester means pull in carbon dioxide. ആഗീകരണം ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറയും. Carbon dioxide വലിച്ചെടുക്കുക. So what else does? The biggest sequester is ocean. Ocean can take in a lot of carbon dioxide. And wetlands, തണ്ണീർത്തടങ്ങളും കാവുകളും ഒക്കെ തന്നെ, they can absorb a lot of carbon dioxide, right? In fact, uh, uh, they are called the blue carbon, അതായത് വാട്ടറും carbon, oceans and wetlands absorb a lot of carbon dioxide, right? The same way, trees and forest cover also absorb a lot of carbon dioxide. Now, one of the things that you can also do, apart from bringing down your emissions, is that you can increase the capacity of the planet to sequester. Now, what happened is, in the past 100 years, apart from the fact that we increased the carbon emissions, we also reduced the planet's capacity to sequester. കുറെ മരങ്ങൾ വെട്ടി നശിപ്പിച്ചു, കുറെ തണ്ണീർത്തടങ്ങൾ നശിപ്പിച്ചു. Oceans are also being destroyed at a very fast rate. So all of this factor together is what brought us down here to this situation. So what is the solution? It's a combination of reducing electricity, increasing efficiency of devices, reducing travel, offsetting emissions, reducing plastic use, and so on. Okay, so this is a basic aspect of climate change and sustainability as such. There is so much to do as such. Just to see. Okay. Yeah, due to limitation of time, I'm not going ahead with the presentation. I hope you understood a lot about climate change and sustainability in detail. See, the main point here is that the world is going through a very harsh crisis right now with the COVID. And along with that, we also have the climate crisis, which is coming, which could impact each one of our survival too. So at this point, it's very important for us. Uh, it's very important for us to identify ways to reduce the impact, identify ways to increase the planet's capacity to sequester, and And as professionals, most importantly, all of you can work to create policies, especially since a lot of you will be working on policies or law or environment law or so on. And as professionals, you can work or later on bringing policies which are pro environment, supporting the ecosystem, supporting the environment. Personally, you can start to bring change. In the college, you can bring change. For example, when I was in my college in TESS, uh, myself and a couple of us took initiative and installed 3 rainwater harvesting systems in the campus. This is the smallest thing that we could do while in campus. You can do even more. You can volunteer with a couple of organizations. Some of your seniors in 5th year are volunteering with my foundation called Sastra Foundation. We're more than happy to take in volunteers if you would like to. And there are so many other opportunities in Trivandrum where you could volunteer. You can work with your college or environment club or nature club. Do personally train others, train school children about this and all of that. Right? So much of work to be done. And most importantly, you can start your own organizations also. See, I started my first organization when I was in my 3rd year of the college. So it's not a really hard task. At the same time, you need to also stay sane, because I know how difficult it is to stay home and study from home, not meet friends and all. I know that, but it is just a temporary situation, and I guess things would be better soon, and you'll all be able to be together. But staying sane and give your mind tasks that keeps on challenging yourselves, so that you can do something for back to the ecosystem and the planet that you live in. There is so much to talk about if I want to, because environment and sustainability is something that I could talk for hours, but there is a limitation of time, and I know you are having an exhausting day, but I will give you some time for questions. So I don't know if you have figured out the message thing, or else if someone of you want to mute it and um, ask a question. Yes, please.
So there are two questions from Gifty Maria Matthew in the chat box.
Okay.
The first question is that what is the reason for the large forest fires in Australia, in Amazon forest? Do human interferences stand an important reason? This
Yeah.
is the first question.
Okay. So I forgot the name. Who asked?
So it's Gifty Maria Matthew.
All right. All right, Gifty. Of course, one of the major, influences in what happened in Australian forest fires and even the Amazonian forest fires is human-led itself. So, see, forest fires happen in 2 ways. One is natural, one is human-made. Natural, how it when the forest or the forest region goes through extreme heat or hot conditions, the trees could rub together, and that could cause a fire, and that could then spread at a very fast rate. Now, even if that happens in the natural forest system, there is always a control to it, and it would limit to a space, right? And would stop at some point. But now what happened is, due to the increase in temperature, that human caused directly, right? There has been an indirect effect on the increase in forest fire. And apparently, it's also been said that the forest fires in Amazon and Australia has been triggered by human beings also. A lot of places it has happened that a single, a cigarette butt when thrown to the ground can lead to a forest fire. A lot of places such things have happened, which has led to large scale deforestation at a very fast rate. For Amazon, what happens is that the Brazil's Amazon region, or the Brazilian country, is one of the biggest exporter of palm oil. It's one of the biggest exporter of meat and milk products. Now, in order to grow a lot of palm oil trees and rear a lot of cattle, you need a lot of land. Now, apparently, what the corporations and the government over there has been doing is that they have been uh, triggering forest fires, which would then rapidly destroy the number of trees over there, which they can use to rear cow or grow food for cow, or make it grasslands, or convert them into palm oil fields, right? So there is a natural demand, increase in demand for these products, which requires a lot of land, and people eventually end up doing such stuff to increase their productivity and so on. So it's mostly, even in some regions, if it's a natural forest fire, human activities would have triggered the extent of the forest fire. It would cover a larger area, causing massive damage. And the biggest problem of the forest fire, I should say, is that, imagine, as I mentioned, a tree can absorb 40 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year, right? Imagine hundreds of trees who have sequestered all of this carbon dioxide for around hundreds of years. Suddenly they burn. What is happening? It releases all that carbon dioxide back to the atmosphere. So imagine, that is again making things worse. So forest fire doesn't mean that it's causing biodiversity loss. It's also leading to a situation where all of that carbon dioxide, which has been stored for years, is being emitted at a very fast rate. I hope I answered your question. Uh, what would be the next question?
So the next question is, for residents of Delhi, electricity is free of cost if the
Okay.
consumption is up to or less than 200 units, and half the bill if it's less than 500 units. Does
Okay.
such a measure help?
Once more, what is the scheme?
So
It's
for
free up to
residents,
200.
it's free up to or less than 200 units, and half the bill if it's less than 500 units.
It is certainly helpful, because keeping it less than 200 for a household of 3 to 4 is ideal. So if that is the case, then it really helps. And but I really suggest that people households consuming more than 200 shouldn't be given a subsidy at all, because even though the increase in fuel prices are not a good thing for people dependent on taxi, auto, etc., it has certainly reduced the number of travels also. In that way, it's a good thing. But I'm not a supportive person for the increase in fuel prices, because a lot of people are dependent on livelihood for through fuel based auto, taxi driving, etc., even trucks, etc. But I wouldn't suggest incentivizing people above 200 is a good thing for the environment. Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir.
Is that it, Janaki?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. So hope all of you doing good, and hope everyone enjoyed the session. I'm not able to see any message or so I don't know what you felt. Anyhow, thanks to all for listening. Try to reduce your impact
Sir,
on the environment. Yeah.
no, sir. Gifty thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Gifty. So yeah, try and try as much as possible to reduce your impact on the planet, and through your professional lives and personal lives, see that you create an impact. You can always join us through to work in Trivandrum on climate related work and policy level work on climate through Sustera Foundation. You can send us a mail to admin@sustera.org. All right, then have a great day. That's it, Janaki, from my side.
Thank you, sir. It was an informative session. Now I invite Nandita Prateep to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is my ultimate honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks to the most distinguished speaker, Sanju Soman sir, for sparing us his invaluable time for us all. The talk was full of knowledge and interesting things. It certainly
Informative
gave us
session.
a deep insight. Excuse me. It certainly gave us a deep insight onto the topic. Mentioning your personal experience was especially thoughtful and inspiring. I'm pretty sure that the knowledge you imparted will help us a great deal in the future. We will try our best to take a large as well as small but significant steps to protect and save our environment. I once again like to express my sincere gratitude to Sanjay Soman sir for taking time and enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, with this,
Thank you, Nandita.
welcome, sir. Okay, so with this, let us conclude the third day of the Holistic Development Training Program organized by Mar Gregorius College of Law. Let us meet again tomorrow for talks on social media, a very relevant issue in today's world. Students, please make sure that you join tomorrow's session without fail. Thank you everyone for joining.